Ladies and gentlemen, two girls, two boys, a phenomenon in pop music. ABBA.
Hello and welcome to the second episode of this second season of Like a Magic Spell, the song-by-song podcast which aims to unlock the joy of ABBA one song at a time. I hope you enjoyed last week's episode, the first one of this season with Eagle and Take a Chance on Me. Joelle was a fantastic guest, I hope you agree, and I've had some really lovely feedback about the episode. Carly described the episode as like a big warm hug, which I'll definitely take, and Joe says, give the podcasts a listen, even if you're not an ABBA fan, they're still great. No arguments from me, Joe. This episode is the international episode I promised in the trailer a couple of weeks ago. I was delighted to be joined by Leo Chant, who's an ABBA superfan, who spoke to me from Sydney. It was late on Sunday night there, early on Sunday morning for me, so I'm very grateful to Leo for giving up his Sunday evening to chat all things ABBA. It's a really fun chat. We're going to talk about One Man, One Woman and the name of the game. As usual, I've put YouTube links into the show notes of the podcast, so have a listen to the songs before you listen to the episode if you like. You don't have to, of course. And yeah, enjoy this chat with Leo. I certainly did. And of course, I began, as I usually do, by asking Leo how ABBA came into his life.
I'm the youngest of 5 kids, and it's considerably younger than a lot of my older siblings who grew up in the 70s. So from my mum and my sisters, ABBA was just always in our household. So it was just always in the tapestry of my life, and I'm thankful because although people get to have that grand moment of hearing them for the first time, I've always had them in our household. The singles and the hits would have been the ones that kept being playing. As I got older, I got to sort of go back through the back catalogue, going through those teenage years and being attracted more to those melancholic kind of songs and, the drama. And then, of course, who doesn't love a dance beat? And it's just in everything which they do. So wrapping, I guess, that melancholy up in such happy music, it just plays so well. But, we would not have had a celebration without ABBA. I come from a very large family, so weddings, even on the odd occasion of funerals, you get Dancing Queen happening, everyone's happening.
So was it just Dancing Queen, or what other ABBA songs would get your family on the floor?
Look, they're pretty basic people, so they would have gone with the major hits of Mamma Mia and Dancing Queen and Money, 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 throw on a Knowing Me, Knowing You, and I would certainly be swinging there going, uh-huh.
And obviously, I'm talking to you live, but obviously recorded, but live from Sydney. One of the recurring patterns I'm finding with my research as I do these things is just how ABBA exploded in Australia in the 70s. What was the appeal, do you think?
In Australia, we had a music show at the time. We couldn't obviously get acts from across the world, so they would send their music videos, and they were really pushing ABBA, particularly sort of I Do, I Do, I Do, and then that took off, and then Mamma Mia, which was not even intended as a single. The host of that show was kind of saying back to Polar Music, no, you have to release this, and it just went gangbusters in Australia.
And of course, we know from ABBA the movie just how insane things got.
I speak to my mum and she would talk about certainly Beatlemania when they came to Australia, but I think ABBA was on a whole nother level. And it was just so fortuitous that they were doing that documentary at the time, and it just showed the kind of pandemonium that was existing in Australia. We'd never seen these 4 stunningly beautiful, blonde, Nordic people come to this country, and everyone just loved them, from 8-year-olds to 80-year-olds. They appealed to everyone. They were pure and innocent, but they also had that cheek, I guess. But yeah, I think how they then turned it into a bit of a mockumentary style, I guess, and had that loose theme running from across all the cities that they were doing concerts for was a really interesting kind of spin at the time. And it certainly allowed the music, I guess, to be told without it being just a boring, simple concert movie.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I only watched it. I mean, I bought it on DVD years ago, but I only watched it fairly recently because I'd heard some quite sort of patchy things about it, about that loose storyline, about the DJ trying to get an interview. But do you know what? I thought, and those bits, I could probably leave those bits, but just to see the crowd reaction was just, for me, that was the best bit of it. And also the concert footage as well. And the vox pops as well are amazing of those people. I think one woman says like, oh, they've got loose morals or something, and they're going to pollute Australian society.
Like, I live around the corner from where they had the Sydney concert at the SCG, which is a football stadium. It's not even designed for this. And it was evident on that first night when it was like bucketing down and they had 90,000 people there, and they should have stopped it. I mean, Frida falls on the stage.
Funny, I was reading about this just yesterday, and apparently the band were given the option to cancel, but they said, no, these people have been, some of them had been there for like 24 hours waiting, because it was all unreserved seating, of course, because no health and safety. But they said, no, these people have come, they've stood in the rain for 24 hours, we need to give them a show. And boy, did they do that.
And I think from what I've read, even ABBA themselves were really surprised by that level of fame and how people wanted to get close to them. I know in Melbourne, where they were sort of on a balcony, it's at our town hall, it shuts down that street. Now, that street is pretty pedestrianised now, and it has trams that run up and down it. But at the time, it would not have been. It would have been really iconic to have that street just shut down and just be full of people just watching these four people up on a balcony, essentially like Buckingham Palace.
And I think there's something interesting as well about how, particularly after that tour and after the movie and everything, how actually the popularity, certainly in terms of chart position, dipped quite quickly. And I know in the UK, it took maybe a couple of years for them to sort of fizzle out in terms of the chart performance. I just think it's really interesting. And I was reading yesterday about there was a lot of overexposure and the mania kind of blew itself out.
It's quite surprising to see how sharp the decline was. I mean, we still had, like, Fernando was our biggest song here. It lasted about 13, 14 weeks, I think, at number one.
Wow.
And like, as I was saying before, the show that they were on, they used to play at the end of that, the number one music video every week. And I think it was after 12 weeks, they were like, we're sick of ABBA, we're not playing it. And they had a flood of complaints in. So they were like, oh, we have to play it again. And then it lasted 2 more weeks. I mean, I certainly loved the later years, probably a lot more as well. So I don't know, I still would have kept with them.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're going to come on to talk about that. I think one of these songs we're going to talk about today is described as a turning point, which kind of leaves behind the kind of the pop things and goes into those slightly more serious, melancholic kind of areas. Yeah. But we'll get to that shortly. If I had to put a gun to your head, what would be your favourite ABBA song? I appreciate that's a huge question just to lay on someone.
It would have to be Knowing Me, Knowing You. That's my favourite. It's those haunting kind of melodies. And, I see myself as Agneta sort of wrapped in a cloak, walking through the snow and just turning backwards and going, uh-huh. Absolutely. Full of drama. Love it. And of course, the iconic turning of the faces on a dolly kind of Lazy Susan thing that they've got going on. That's fantastic. Love it.
Right. So we're going to talk about One Man, One Woman and the name of the game. So some song facts about One Man, One Woman. So it's the third track on ABBA the album. It was written in July 1977 with the original working title of Sjömansvisa, or Sailor's Song. The lyrics were written a few months later by Bjorn in the basement of his and Agneta's big secluded villa in Lidingö in Stockholm. One Man, One Woman wasn't released as a single. The strings were arranged by their bassist, Rutger Gunnarsson, who ended up doing a lot of their string arrangements for the next few years. And the lyrics tell a story of a marriage in trouble, but it does end on a note of hope for the relationship. A few quotes about the song. So Carl Magnus Palm in his book says, "This was not the rush of romance when a couple falls in love, nor was it the devastated cry after the breakup. This is the strange struggle of keeping it all together when the dizzying feelings of love turned into dull routine, the reluctance to throw it all away after so much effort."
It's more that concentrated feeling of understanding a relationship and not, that instant attraction or the devastating end, I guess.
Yeah, it's really like it's in the middle, isn't it? It's really
in
that
the middle.
thing.
Yeah,
you can see the beginning, you're looking to maybe see the end, but you're really kind of in the midst of it at the moment.
But still so introspective.
Yeah. The obvious thing to do with these songs is to draw a parallel between the marriages, the real life marriages, and the lyrics. And obviously Bjorn was asked about this, whether it was reflection on his marriage, and he sort of denied it. But the second quote I've got from Carl Magnus Palm says, "The words are too real, too specific, the imagery too unerring, not to have been a sincere outpouring on his part. So, yeah, I think it's fairly obvious that it is a reflection. So the author, Freddie Holman, says it would be a standout song on other albums, yet it feels slightly unremarkable set against the towering company of other tracks on this stellar album. Gary Holland says Frida naturally is on prime form, infusing her awesome vocal with multiple emotions, gorgeously combining hope, belief, and nagging doubt. And the Sydney Morning Herald said it was a big treatment ballad.
Thank you, Sydney. I read something saying around the chord progression is kind of the reverse of Dancing Queen as well. So although it has those elements, it's really mellow because it kind of wants the words to speak a lot more than the melody.
What do you think of that sort of soft rock style?
Look, I'm not a fan of it, to be honest with you. And yeah, this is certainly not one that I would be on repeat for. But I think I still appreciate the nuance, particularly because, I mean, most people kind of think of some of their lyrics as really simplified, but I think that within some of that simplification it hits right where the emotion is.
Yeah, it's mellow and melancholic, isn't it? At the same time, it's that perfect kind of ABBA combination. And I really get what one of those quotes said about if it was on another album, it would be absolutely standing out. And I think before this album, I think Bjorn said he wanted his lyrics to be taken more seriously. And I think we see that in action, certainly with this one and The Name of the Game as well. We're seeing a lot of almost like another level of like lyrical intelligence, I think, maybe. So I've picked out a couple of highlights from from the melody. So the piano and strings I really love. The piano accents in the chorus, the da-da-da-da-da-da-da. That doesn't really come across very well because, as I've said before, I'm not going to play the music because I don't want to get sued by Benny and Bjorn.
Oh, look, it'd be a fantastic way to meet them.
That's very true, yes. Yeah, maybe like across the courtroom, I can just like take my podcast recorder and go,
sorry, Your Honour, if it pleases the court, can I please approach Mr. Bjorn and Mr. Benny?
I don't think I'd get very far, do you? I imagine they're surrounded by massive bouncers. So I've written it's got a lovely gliding pace, very smooth, and it sort of soars occasionally, but it doesn't kind of overwhelm the listener. So it sort of glides along, I think.
In this one, it's more that the melody is servicing the lyrics as opposed to the other way around that they do in a lot of other songs to make that emotive pull.
And at least it does what a lot of the later songs don't do, is that it does give that note of hope. You know, it starts out with, people slamming doors and, silence over the breakfast table. And at the end, if I just have a look at the words, daydreams of a better life, the sound of the key in the door, you smile and I realize we need a shake up. Our love is a precious thing. So it goes on a journey, doesn't it?
Yeah. And look, it'd be interesting to see what that couple did subsequently. Like, are they still together, or did the mundaneness of life just creep in and you're like, and we're done?
Yeah. Going on to the music video of One Man, One Woman, I've just got a few notes here. So it's not entirely clear why there is a video, because it's an official video, but it's not clear why, because it was never intended to be a single. There's a rumour I read yesterday on Reddit that said that it was filmed for an ABBA The Album TV special, which never actually happened. But we do know when it was filmed, weirdly. We do know it was filmed at the same time as the Eagle and the Thank You for the Music promos. That was Monday the 17th and Tuesday the 18th of April 1978 at the SVT studios in Stockholm. What did you think of the video?
Oh, look, to be honest, I certainly don't bash sometimes how simplistic their music videos are, and we'll get to that in the name of the game. But this one is a little bit too simplistic. There's not much there. It's, a bit of the lighting, the design, nothing really seems cohesive. When I was rewatching it again in preparation for this, I was having a look going, I'm a little bit concerned with even Frida's style in this one. To me, she looked like she'd just come off, a heavy run of playing Magenta in a Community play of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. But look, they're still beautiful and they still sort of kind of show, I guess, well, Agneta shows what she's wanting to sing. But yeah, I don't know, Frida just looked a little bit apathetic, I think.
I've written it's very intense because the four faces were all in almost near constant close-up. And then they do that thing, which is that they mix half the face with another face.
It's like Face Off. Yeah.
It's like a horror film.
Yeah. And sometimes they don't merge in the way that they should.
Yeah, it's
So,
really creepy. It's like some weird,
yeah.
like human centipede kind of experiment, maybe. I did find a quote about the video actually from Sarah Russell, who does a really good website called ABBAontv.com. She documents every single TV appearance, music promo, and her comment was she didn't have much to say, but she said, "This is the most dull promo ever. It was low budget and it shows." I almost wish they hadn't bothered actually with this one.
Why bother? Yeah. Oh, look, and I suppose within that, we can always be appreciative, especially now when we don't get much from them and, we're dying for anything kind of new. So I guess we can be thankful. I'm not sure if I sounded convincing there, but yes, I'm thankful.
As I normally do, I've looked at the YouTube comments under the video. Some of them incredible, some of them not so. Viking Girl 1679 says, "Beautiful song. Frida has a rich, full, smoky voice. Easy on the ears."
I think that's lovely.
Dion King 8 says, "Frida sings the hell out of this song. Only she can sing the pain, yet the triumph of her voice brings tears to my eyes." Time Travelling 1 says, "Kind of has a country pop sound. Could have been a hit for Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton back in the day."
Yeah, it does have that surprising kind of country and western feel.
Yeah.
Which obviously they then overlay their own ABBA-ness over it with the piano and strings. But I guess it's twang of country there.
If you've hit on the right word, there is a twang, at least a potential twang in there somewhere.
Which I guess then does speak to that type of genre around relationships, hope for fulfilling them.
If you want melancholy, go to country music.
Go to country western.
Loro FCB2 says, "Agnetta's voice, fantastic. Frida's voice, fantastic. The moment when the voices come together, goosebumps."
Oh, look, I feel that about any time that the women sing, and it's sort of, as soon as they get those harmonies as well, it's instantaneous.
They talk about the third voice, don't they? Like, the two of them together is just some weird magical ingredient that just comes together and just they complement each other at the same time in some weird way that you cannot recreate.
Yeah, and I feel, people obviously talk about singers who are related and that their voices will complement each other because their genetics, obviously, especially when their vocal cords tend to be so similar. And these two women are obviously not related in any shape or form. Yeah, it's just by divine intervention or something that it just melds so perfectly.
Chorus and the Ring, that's their genuine YouTube username, says, "ABBA the album is probably ABBA's masterpiece, at least as regards its complexity, variety of sounds and musical achievements. This song really stands out. It reminds me of a classic Burt Bacharach song."
Oh, okay.
And Light Connection 1 says, "Wow, beautiful song. It goes through my bone all the way." So I think they mean goes through. Yeah, just the bone.
Yes.
Yeah. So conclusion then, one man, one woman. What do we think?
Look, it just doesn't hit the mark for me, unfortunately. If I was going through those elements of a relationship, maybe, and I would be able to relate to it a lot more. Unfortunately, I just go, take a chance on me and skip, name of the game.
I feel the same. I think if you kind of take it out of everything and appreciate it in its own right, I think it's clever. It has all of those amazing magical ABBA ingredients, but it just gets lost, I'm afraid, in the amazing spectrum of the album. It's definitely a skip one, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
So arbitrary marks out of 10.
Ooh, okay.
This is a safe space.
Oh, look, I feel shame of saying this so low, but I'm going to give it a 3.
This is a safe space, but it's not that safe.
If anyone feels to come at me for that, that's fine.
See, now that's affected my score because I feel like I need to bump it up a little bit in sympathy. So no, I was gonna go for a 5. I think it's definitely 5-6 territory for me because, lyrically it's very good, musically it's very good, but it's just in the album, maybe it's just filler, not killer. Do you know what I mean? It's disadvantaged by its place in the album, maybe. You don't look convinced.
No, only for me because I don't relate to it so much. That for me, it feels like it is their passion project. It is one of those ones that they would have killed to not have on the album, whereas a lot of other people who obviously don't have as much skin in the game for it would probably go, no.
So a mixed bag then. Let's decide on a mixed bag for one man, one woman.
Yes.
Right. So name of the game. Some song facts about the name of the game. So it's the fourth track on ABBA the album. It was recorded on Tuesday, the 31st of May, 1977 at the Marcus Music Studios. The original working title was A Bit of Myself. This was written for the psychiatrist scene in ABBA the movie. So the lyrics talk about seeing a psychiatrist, but it's open enough to kind of other interpretations, I think. The opening riff on bass and synthesizer is widely believed to have been influenced by I Wish by Stevie Wonder. It was the first single to be released from the album in October 1977. It's the final single on which Stig Anderson is credited. Apparently he came up with the title after listening to just the backing track. The album version of the song is 4 minutes 51. Now a shorter edit was created for the US market for the US single. That was 3 minutes 58. But by mistake, for whatever reason, lost in the mists of time, this was the version that went onto ABBA Gold. I came to this song listening to the version on ABBA Gold. When I heard the album version, I was like, hang on a minute, there's a whole extra verse in here. That does throw some people off sometimes. Originally, Hole in Your Soul was going to be the first single released off the album, but this was changed pretty much at the last minute in 77. So in terms of chart performance, so released in 16 territories, it went top 10 in Australia, Mexico, Switzerland, West Germany. It went top 5 in Belgium, Finland, Ireland, Netherlands, Norway, New Zealand, Rhodesia, South Africa, and Sweden. The only country in which it went to number 1 was the UK. It stayed there for 4 weeks. It's been covered by, big list of names coming up. I've only heard of a few of these, so bear with me. Right, so Top of the Poppers, Shane and Fifi 95, the SAS Band, Any Trouble, Abacadabra, the A-Teens, heard of them, Pamela McNeil, Sidney Youngblood, heard of him, Niels Lindgren, Eurosonic, Gabby DiMartino, and of course Cher on Dancing Queen album. It features on the soundtracks of both Mamma Mia movies, but the film version in the first movie was cut from the film, but it's still on the soundtrack. It was sampled by the Fugees for their track Rumble in the Jungle. In 2017, Billboard ranked it number 6 on their list of the 15 best ABBA songs. In 2021, Rolling Stone ranked it number 3 in their top 25 list of ABBA songs. Pete Paphides, the music journalist, ranked it 31 out of his 40 best ABBA songs. And as of today, it's the 8th highest selling ABBA single in the UK. Some quotes about the song. So Ian Cole, in his book ABBA Song by Song, says, "The name of the game marks a turning point for ABBA and the start of the second half of their career. A more mature adult sound, previously only heard in Knowing Me, Knowing You, would come to dominate ABBA's output from this point." Another quote from Ian Cole, he says, "Its melody contains 6 distinct sections that are all very different from each other. But due to the song's production and Agnetta's and Frida's voices, the song holds together." Carl Magnus Palm, quote from him again, "So the name of the game transcended its American inspirations. In fact, the song didn't sound like anything else on the music scene at the time." And Gary Holland says, "This song is a remarkable 5-minute mini opera teeming with neat ideas and clever touches. Everything locks together like a millimetre perfect piece of civil engineering, and the level of precision on display is genuinely awesome." So, the name of the game, what do we think, Leo? Genius or madness?
A little bit of both, but more genius. And I don't understand Americans. Why do you need to get rid of verses to make it more palatable for radio? Everything is needed in this song that requires it. It is so stylistically different and yet cohesive at the same time. I mean, my favorite part is that post-chorus kind of bridge where they come together, it swells, their horns, and I can't imagine just cutting out a verse and then like having that and then go back into a chorus again. It just seems weird.
It's like taking the middle out of a book, isn't it?
Yes, and there's no need for editing here. I fail to see why that's required, but no, I like this one. It probably falls in the middle of the pack for my love of ABBA singles. I kind of wish it probably had done a little bit better in Australia as well, but it sits well. It's like an old friend.
So it got to number 6 in Australia, but apparently it took quite a long time to get there. And one of the theories is that obviously there was the big explosion of the tour in early 77. This was October, and too much time had elapsed, and then when it came, it wasn't perhaps the most radio friendly. It's a different sort of tone. Maybe it wasn't quite so successful for that reason.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, even back then, they would have had a different way of music being sold and also calculated for the charts. And it was done state by state basis, even though obviously a federation of a country, it was done really weirdly. So I suspect that this would have been one of the large states. New South Wales and Victoria probably didn't hit it as hard. I love that the two individuals, Agneta singing solo or Frida singing solo, but it's that post-chorus bridge where they come together and just like, hey, there we go. Reach that new level.
When I was looking at the kind of the structure of the song and the lyrics, that kind of that post-chorus, I mean, you can't really call it anything else but a post-chorus, can you? It's not a verse, it's not a continuation of the chorus. It's just like this kind of, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love it, but it's just this slightly strange, like, next section.
It adds so much, but doesn't, I guess, take up as much space as a lot of the other slower aspects of the song.
And also the way it sort of builds so that when you get to the kind of the end of the chorus, you've got those kind of overlaid vocals. So the name of the game, I Was an Impossible Case, and it's overlaying a previous lyrics onto the chorus. It just builds in this kind of really amazing way, like a volcano erupting.
Absolutely. It's that sonic layering, especially with the lyrics, Max Martin could never. It's those kind of elements that he likes to do in the 90s.
They did spend a lot of time, apparently, in the studio towards
trying to perfect it.
Once they'd recorded it, Benny, Bjorn and Frida took themselves off to Gothenburg during this whole production process because Agneta was heavily pregnant and she was not having a good pregnancy, so she stayed at home. But the three went to Gothenburg to slightly get out of Stockholm and just kind of have a bit of a break, have a bit of physical break from their usual lives. And apparently they did spend 10, 12-hour days in the studio perfecting this. So it's had a lot of time spent on it. What do you think of that? One of the quotes said about it being that kind of turning point. We've already sort of touched on it with One Man, One Woman. But if you think of Here and you think of The Visitors, this is the start and The Visitors is the finishing line.
Oh, look, I read something and I really wish I could remember where it was now, where someone was saying that without the name of the game, you wouldn't have the winner takes it all. I don't know if I'm willing to go that far, but I can see what they mean, I guess, in the complexity. There is a bit of darkness.
So my personal highlights from the song. So I love the kind of the laid back, almost reggae style. Actually, I've found, Frida and Agneta vocals unbelievable, and I've also put the trumpets ! Those bits incredible.
And normally, obviously, the highlights that they will do of that staccato kind of sound will be piano, but it's the trumpets that really do, just the cherry that sits on top.
The music video. So a couple of things about the video. So it was filmed at Bjorn and Agneta's house on Sunday, 25th of September, 1977. Obviously, Agneta was heavily pregnant at this time, so it's thought that it was filmed around the kitchen table to disguise her pregnancy. I mean, everybody knew it was, I don't know why they needed to disguise it, but directed by Lasse Hallström, like most ABBA videos, who was editing ABBA the movie at the time, which he directed, of course. And so you get that kind of that half face effect, with the back of someone's head in the foreground and the person singing to the face you can't see. The name of the game they're playing in the video is called Fear Spell, which is a Swedish version of Ludo. Yeah, what did you think of the video for the name of the game?
Look, it cracks me up. I love that it's, two couples that are probably coming together and their idea of a fun Sunday afternoon is playing Ludo and thinking out loud about their relationships. And that just sounds like a hoot.
Yeah, so we have those weird shots of like them playing the game and everything. And then we have a shot of Frida being filmed through like the branches of a bush, which is really weird.
Obviously, he's trying to tie the movie in as well. So he's going with elements of the transitions and the changes, particularly the colouring, that sepia and then black and white and those framing elements, which I guess he has done very successful in the past. It's a little more comical in this one.
Yeah. And also there's that weird bit where Benny and Frida, it stays on them for ages and they're just like sort of like touching each other and like tickling each other, and then they just have this massive snog.
They were probably a little bit more of the physical couple. And I mean, obviously, if you were that other couple, you'd be sitting there going, oh, this is not uncomfortable at all. No.
Take it out in the garden. Benny and Frida, you're going to snog, go out in the garden.
Go out in the bushes. Thank you.
What did you think of the bit on the roundabout? Because I found that nauseating.
Oh, look, I'd be lying if I said I haven't done that myself. Hop on the little roundabout at a children's playground and just belting our name of the game.
I think this video, it's almost like if you were going to do a parody of an ABBA video, this is what you would model it on, maybe?
Yes.
It's a work of art.
Yes.
Sort of. So some of the YouTube comments underneath the official video. So Gene Poole, 1771, says, all the details of this song are extraordinary. The spaces, the tense little guitar lick at the end of the verse, the accents of horn over the chorus. This is pop songwriting genius.
Absolutely.
Some random guy on YouTube, that's their actual username, says, bubblegum pop my arse. This song is strange, unsettling and brilliant. The last word must go to Angel R. Bernal 3090 that just says 2022 bitches.
Oh, thank you.
So in summary then, the name of the game, what do we think? I just think it excels because it is so well layered, and I think it's just so well produced, well engineered. The things we've talked about before, the vocals and the trumpets, I'm sold.
Yeah, look, I agree. And although, as I said before, it is kind of the middle of the pack for me, I feel that that's probably not being fair to it because it's one of those things that stand alone. It certainly achieves more than one might think, and well-deservedly, but it's a grower. It's a grower because it has those two verses that extended out beyond 4 minutes that Americans can't listen to.
For me, it's one of those songs where if I'm not listening to the albums regularly, I can sort of forget about it, and then I hear it and I just have this moment of, wow, actually, do you know what? That's really, really good. It wouldn't go beyond that, really.
Yeah, I just think it's probably overshadowed. Even still on this album, the big brassy, bold aspects of things like Eagle, Take a Chance on Me, they want you to see them. The name of the game, I guess, is like, come on in, sit down. I have this magic that I would like to tell you. And unless you sit down, sadly, you miss it.
Again, arbitrary marks out of 10 for the name of the game.
Okay, this one I will be a little bit more generous to. I would say 7.
Yeah. I think I'm going to go for an 8, I think. As soon as I remember it's there, I'm like, this is amazing. But then I sort of do forget about it. But I'm going to go for an 8. So yeah, that's pretty good. 7 and 8. Yeah.
Yeah, 7. The only reason I probably have it a little bit less, because when I want melancholy, I want melancholy. So I would take, things like The Day Before You Came, even The Visitors, like those kind of things over the top. Give that to me.
Inject it in my veins.
Yes, the longingness, the wistful crying whilst eating Chinese and watching reruns of Dallas.
Leo, thank you so much for talking to me today about One Man, One Woman and the name of the game. Have you had fun? Loaded question.
Oh, absolutely. As Muriel says, my life is as good as an ABBA song. It's as good as Dancing Queen.
And a Muriel's wedding quote seems like a fitting way to end this international episode. This is not the last you've heard of Muriel's wedding. I would like to do something special with Muriel's wedding, but I'm not going to give anything away just at this moment. But needless to say, you will be hearing more about that amazing 1993 film. No huge post-amble from me this time. Just obviously get in touch if you want to, likeamagic@gmail.com, or hit me up at likeamagic on Instagram. I really do want to hear from you. If you're enjoying the episodes, if you're not enjoying the episodes, do let me know. And I think I said this last season as well. If you want to send me voice notes, that's fine as well. We can maybe put them on the podcast if you really, really want to. That's it from this week, and we'll be back next Monday with a brand new episode. See you then. Like a Magic Spell is presented and produced by me, Adrian Stirrup. The theme was composed and performed by Ian Jones. Ian, thank you for the music.